If you get your views from television news, you'll only hear stories that corporations choose. You'll only get to see what they want you to see. You're gonna have to read and decide what you believe. We all watched in horror 911. The planes hit the towers and the towers came down. Did you ever wonder how they fell so fast? Well, maybe that's a question that we're not supposed to ask. Don't you think it's strange? There were no fighter jets. Did someone give the order not to intercept? And if they really scrambled, then why'd they fly so slow? Maybe there's an answer that we don't want to know. And where was our president? George W., that fool. He was visiting with children at an elementary school. And when he heard the news, he didn't seem concerned. He just calmly read a picture book while all those people burned. The Bushes and Bin Ladens. Now what's that all about? While all of us were grounded, they flew his family out. Osama got his training from the CIA. Our soldiers took Afghanistan, they let him slip away. A new Pearl Harbor was their big chance.
Howdy. Well, my entry music was beginning to get a little bit broken up and disruptive, and so I figured you'd rather be on with the show. Hey, they say that my head reflects too much, so I'm supposed to put this on. All right, now I look like some sort of Navy guy, right? It's a Navy pea hat or whatever they call it. I hope they call it that. Anyway, there we go. We're going to put up this Jesse Ventura tape that I promised you last week. Remember I told you about waterboarding is torture? Well, here we go. Yeah, we're just going to play Jesse Ventura. You can see it right behind me here. He's on the...
People who ordered it, and they would all go to jail.
Uh-oh. The governor, Jesse Ventura, isn't known for holding back in his latest book, Don't Start the Revolution Without Me, out in paperback now. And Brian, I don't know, do you even want to go face-to-face with the governor again today?
Well, no, I'm just saying.
Face off.
No, I watched the governor. I watched you on Hannity last night a few hours ago. You just finished up. You are so down on what the administration did between 2001 and 2007.
That's right.
Why?
Why? Because we now torture and waterboarding. I've been waterboarded. It is torture. I can speak from experience. It was part of SEER training that I went through as a Navy SEAL.
And are you okay now?
I'm fine.
So is Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. He's about 60 pounds overweight, having a great time.
It doesn't matter. If it was okay, then why don't we do it to criminals? When, if we've got gang members in L.A., okay, we know that their gangs are going to do bad things. When we arrest them, why don't we waterboard them so we can get information out of them?
Do you want to stop?
Because it's against the law. Don't come after me with that nonsense.
What's nonsense?
Waterboarding, because number one, if you torture someone, what you get is baloney.
Well, it turns out they feel differently. The CIA feels differently than you do. If you read the 175 pages, they talk about, we got this guy, we get Hambali, we get his brother, and it happened by corroborating all this different evidence from the material they got. And they only waterboarded 3 guys, and on top of that, I want to know how you feel about the light deprivation, when you talk about sleep deprivation, when you talk about hot cold, when you talk about bugs. Does that all bother you?
Yeah. Why don't we do that with our people in prison and jail?
Mm-hmm.
Ticking time bomb.
So how else should we find out information from these terrorists?
Well, you find out information like these guys. They got more information from them. It's documented before they ever waterboarded them. I find it okay. Why didn't we
The FBI says that the CIA doesn't. Why didn't we waterboard McVeigh and Nichols then? There were more people. There were more people that they thought involved in Oklahoma City. Why weren't they waterboarded to get information? Because it's against the law. And if we're not going to be a country, if we're not going to be a country that goes by the rule of law when it's convenient or inconvenient, then what do we stand for? What country do we have if we're all on fire, if buildings are blowing up, if people are jumping out of skyscrapers? Do you want to live in that country? That you live in, if you worked in the CIA, you wouldn't do everything you can to keep those people safe?
I wouldn't torture.
But what about the difference between, you bring up Timothy McVeigh and gang members, and maybe those threats weren't as imminent as the threats.
I don't think these threats are imminent.
You didn't think after 9/11 that America felt that the threats were imminent, that more could be coming?
Maybe, but I think our behavior has caused us to be in more trouble. Now, they won't release these photos. Why? Because they know the Muslim world will go irate. They're all after Nancy Pelosi. When did she know? When da-da-da? Well, if we hadn't have tortured, it'd be a dead issue, wouldn't it? Let's go to the real issue. It's called
enhanced interrogation.
Because Dick Cheney makes up a new word.
No, the CIA told him that word.
That's
say, we need to get Khalid Sheikh Mohammed Abu Zubaydah.
It's torture, my friend. And I've had it done.
Have
you been waterboarded?
What? Do you want me to?
Have you been waterboarded? Yeah, get waterboarded, and then we'll ask you. Let me waterboard you.
I'm not blowing up America. I'm not trying to destroy this country. I'm not trying to fight against democracy everywhere we go. These people.
Neither are they.
These are the people that cut off Danny Pearl's head, and you're worried about their welfare.
No, I'm not worried about their welfare. I'm worried about what our country stands for.
Are you afraid of getting them radical?
I'm worried about what this our country. Well, where's it going to end?
We have to end
Where is it going to end?
When they're dead.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how
when
come
Al-Qaeda loses,
have
when
you
they decided their philosophy.
Have you enlisted, or are you just talking?
No, am I just talking? You want me to enlist?
Yeah.
You don't like our armed forces?
Go walk the walk. Don't talk the talk.
So wait a second. So if I'm not in the military, I can't pull for America?
Sure you can.
Yeah, and I can't fight for America?
But you ain't fighting for us.
Yeah. While they continue to battle it out,
if you're not in the military.
Take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Okay, this is after the show right here. We're going to go play right on through and watch this. This is right after the show. Go ahead. Keep playing it. Bring it up.
Administration should be prosecuted for their acts.
It's Governor Jesse Ventura
is with us. But if that is the case, then we should prosecute. We should have prosecuted Harry Truman. Should have prosecuted Abraham Lincoln. Should have prosecuted Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Are you for that?
They're dead.
But if you talk about justice.
They're dead.
So if they weren't, would you prosecute
reality.
them?
You're giving me a hypothetical that's bullshit.
I'm giving you a hypothetical because you're making up Rosie O'Donnell-like scandals that says that 9/11 was an inside job.
Well, why are you not allowed to ask anything about it?
No,
why, when you approach the government, I approach the government.
I read everything possible. I watched all the hearings. You're right. I haven't read. You looked at my reading list. Have you read the 9/11 report, and you think it's a piece of fiction?
No, I believe everything in it. I believe my government's never lied to me, have they? Let's see, where should we start? The Gulf of Tonkin incident? Now, that took us into war in Vietnam. They've now admitted it was a lie. So 58,000 of my generation were killed based upon a lie. But that doesn't count, does it?
What does that have to do with 9/11?
That shows that we will lie to go to war. We've been doing it for years. We will continue to do it. The Gulf of Tonkin incident, did you believe that? Well, you probably weren't alive then.
I apologize for not being alive then.
Well,
it won't happen again.
Well, I was alive.
Okay.
But and I remember our president sitting on TV telling us our boys are floating in the water.
Because of that, you'll never believe anything.
False.
And because of that, you'll never believe anything.
But they lie all the time. Have you been in government? No, I have.
All right, so that's so I've never been in the NFL, but I could watch a football game and judge what's going on.
Why do we have the CIA embedded in all state government when their mission statement says that they're not?
The question. If you just say one thing, you don't think the CIA has our best interest in mind. You don't think our intelligence branch.
I never said any of that.
But your questions and conclusions only lead to that one statement. Did you think everyone's against America?
No,
the government's
that's
against
not
America?
True. Always remember, dissension's the greatest form of patriotism. Tom Jefferson said that.
Tom, you were alive then?
No. You're going to insult me.
I got to go to radio. Yeah. All right, Jesse. Take care.
He's leaving.
Jesse, I do have to say that I think Brian probably has read every word from the whole 9/11 situation. He's passionate about it, as you can see.
Well, I am too.
But and I agree with you that there's been covert activity over time, no doubt, where the government has not told its people every single thing that's gone on. I don't think anyone
they rarely
would be surprised.
do.
But when it comes to 9/11, are you so sure?
No.
Okay.
No, but I ask questions, and what perturbs me is that you don't get answers. Nobody wants to talk about it. This event that changed our entire history of our country, why aren't we allowed to discuss it? Why aren't we allowed to ask questions? The moment you do, you get a reaction like he gave me. How dare you? How dare you question your government?
So what are your questions?
My questions are simple. I worked in demolition. I'm a former frogman, underwater demolition team. I know how to blow things up. How could the buildings fall at the rate of gravity? Basic physics tells you that can't happen.
Yeah.
And how did the cement get so pulverized? Just simply from falling, it was blown into dust. What energy was required to pulverize all that cement
so
into
what
dust?
Conclusion do you draw?
I don't know. But I certainly question, and yet I'm attacked when I question. You notice how if you bring up 9/11 and have any questions about it, immediately everyone attacks you over it, tells you you're crazy, calls you Rosie O'Donnell, insult you. Why? Because I ask questions?
I think a lot of people, Jesse, figure, well, you know, that 9/11 report came out, and it said it was those guys over there. It was those Al-Qaeda guys. So people just go, okay. They've formulated an opinion in reasoned manner, and that's what happened. Now, they can't know for sure that all of that happened per se, but, you know, you do ask a lot of questions, and that's what your book
is about.
Don't Start the Revolution Without Me is about. It's about asking questions.
And I thought in our country that was good. In this country, I thought before 9/11 it was good to ask questions. It was
challenge
good.
Authority.
Challenge authority. But now apparently we've changed to where you're not allowed to challenge authority. You have to accept what the government tells you, keep your mouth shut, and stay in line. Well, that's not the America that I served as the military. I served because, to me, defense of free speech, popular speech, the First Amendment doesn't need to be defended. It's unpopular speech is why we have that amendment. And it seems that when you question 9/11, you're asking unpopular speech today.
So you would also like to question the Obama administration. It wouldn't just be the former Bush administration.
Oh, I'd like to question everybody on it, because to me it doesn't. What happened that day? There are so many unanswered questions, and even the relatives. You saw the protests at the 9/11, and since when do you bring in witnesses that don't have to testify in open, where they're brought into closed-door rooms and allowed to testify together?
Let me get your pulse on what's been happening recently. Because since we've chatted at the Republican convention in St. Paul, the economy's gone to hell.
Yeah.
And the government now basically runs the car industry and the banking industry. And I'm really interested in your interpretation of that.
It's difficult. Are they doing the right thing? I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows. I think it's a roll of the dice.
You hope they are.
You hope they are. and you hope that the decision-making people are doing the right thing. Can I unequivocally tell you they are? No, I can't.
But you don't like government getting involved. So
no, I'm very much small government. I believe government is far too expansive. When I was governor once, I brought my whole staff together, and I asked them, I said, during lunch, I said, when we come back, I want you to tell me one thing in your life that's not government controlled. And they couldn't. One guy brought up sleeping, and I said, no, not true. Remember, you got that tag on your mattress that says you by penalty of law if you rip it off?
Well, it'd be harder for them to come up with an answer now. I don't know exactly
if you get arrested for ripping that thing off the mattress.
I got a feeling someplace in your history you've ripped some tags off of mattresses and pillows.
Maybe, but the point is our government is so much in our lives today. I mean, even the air you breathe.
No, you're absolutely right, and you've got to. And I love the fact that in this country, and this show in particular, we ask questions all the time that are contrary to what the government tells us.
But one of the reasons I enjoy living in Mexico, I'm treated like an adult down there.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay.
You're from Mexico. How are you feeling? You
Great.
don't have the flu. You didn't bring me the flu.
No, and let me state this unequivocally. I feel the Mexican government has done everything feasibly possible. They shut down the schools for a week. They canceled all their soccer games, which to them that would be like us canceling baseball for a week.
World Series.
When I left, you had to fill out a questionnaire, and they actually did a thing where they touched your skin and they took your temperature. And if your temperature was too high, you didn't get on the plane.
That's great.
So, you know, I think that they've done everything they feasibly can do. People need to understand when there's an outbreak of 1,500 in Mexico City, you got to remember, Mexico City's twice the size of New York.
Absolutely.
You're talking about 15 to 20 million people there, and 1,500 is small in comparison to the amount of people that live there. Is it a dangerous situation? Yes. I would counter this. How about all these numbskulls out there that don't believe in evolution? Swine flu, there's your classic example. There's a virus that evolves, and it will come back again. Once we fix this one, that virus will re-evolve, do it, and it'll appear again. But all these people say evolution, it's just a theory. You know what I answer back with, Gretchen?
What?
So is gravity. That's just a theory. If you don't believe it, go jump off the building and see if it's real.
Yeah, we saw what happened to those ducks earlier. Don't start the revolution without me, Jesse Ventura. Always a pleasure.
My pleasure.
All right. Never a dull moment, my friend.
Absolutely.
How's your blood pressure?
My blood pressure is great. I'm surfing now, and that's my main thing in life. Is
you look like a surfer now.
Well, my hero now is Laird Hamilton.
He's an attractive guy.
I don't watch it, and it's not for his attractiveness that I like him. It's for his courage.
That's why I watch him.
And the waves he rides. He has great courage. He's a man of courage.
Don't check out his wife. We'll be back tomorrow. That would be Wednesday. See you then.
Okay, well, yeah. I was going to say, here's the Jesse Ventura book they just mentioned. Don't Start the Revolution Without Me. Oops, my fingers are in the wrong place. There we go. And, I strongly recommend this book. I'm going to go down some other books in a little while, but in the meantime, Jesse Ventura is right on a lot of different subjects. First of all, give him an hour with Dick Cheney and let him waterboard him. And he'll have him confessing to the Tate Manson murders. Some of you might be too young to remember what those are. But anyway, Charles Manson. Yeah, so you can get anybody to confess to anything. And I wanted to emphasize some of the things. Ventura kept saying, what does our country stand for? We can't do these things that are used by other people. We can't do them because we're supposed to be above that. We're supposed to have the order of law. Not to mention the fact that, it does not work. Torture does not work. All the experts, and Jesse's an expert. He's a Navy SEAL. He should know. He's been through that type of training. It does not work. So there's no reason to do it. It's amazing. And he says the behavior of our country costs us more. When we insist that we have to do torture and we have to have these secret prisons all over the world that are outside of the jurisdiction of the United States so that they don't have to obey our Constitution, well, first of all, the Supreme Court ruled, anywhere we do something, the Constitution is our guide, whether we like it or not. It does not bind us by geography. what does our country stand for? Is it truth and justice? Well, you can't use torture if justice is in your creed. And you can't use truth. I mean, you can't use torture if truth is in your creed. You can't use truth in your creed if you're using torture. I just had the orders there. And how about that last little shocker? I mean, if you haven't heard, the CIA is embedded in every state government. You know, that just kind of went by real quick. Ventura was the governor of Minnesota, and he says in his book, Don't Start the Revolution Without Me, that right after the election, all the spooks, the CIA and whatnot, came to his office, and they wanted him to say, how did you win? They never expected an independent to win, but they had to know. And he had no idea that they were so involved in state government, but now he realizes that they're not just in state government, they're in all the major news publications and news TV shows and things like that. The CIA, what are they doing there? They're not even supposed to be involved in covert ops in the United States. But this kind of brings us to a current event. And I'm going to get to some other stuff later, but this current event is about the 9/11 mastermind going on trial in New York, and everybody is raising such a ruckus. This falls in the same category. If we are going to go and invade country after country after country, saying we're bringing democracy to the world, I mean, that just, it burns my ears to hear us say that. And then we don't want to use it when it comes to the biggest trial supposedly of the century, blah, blah, blah. Well, the Republicans and whatnot are saying, it's going to endanger us. We can't give them fairness. We can't give them a fair trial because we've already convicted them. That's not what they said. That's just paraphrasing. We can't give them a fair trial because if we did, we might have to release some of them. As a matter of fact, if you give them a fair trial, you'd have to release all of them, probably. If the only way that those guys are guilty is guilty like Oswald was guilty. And you notice Oswald didn't get to trial either? Well, I'm making a prediction right now. We're real close to the trial. There isn't going to be one. I don't believe there's going to be one. I could be wrong. But the 9/11 myth, the government story, the official story, the lie about 9/11 depends on nobody examining the evidence. So you can't have a trial with evidence presented. What that means is that either they're going to somehow find a way to execute him or maybe have him die in a terrorist attack, another terrorist attack maybe, another 9/11 style false flag terrorist attack, and he happens to die in it. But more likely, he'll make a plea bargain. But my bet is that there will be no trial with evidence presented. It'll be a bargain behind closed doors. And, well, I guess with that, let's open up the phone lines and see what people have to say. I'm going to start going down some books that I've got in the meantime. Yeah, there they are, 288-4442 and 288-4448. Now, here's one of the books that I recommend. This is Cornel West's Why Democracy Matters. Why Democracy Matters. And it's winning the fight against imperialism. That's the problem we have right now, is the imperialism. Now, here's a great book. This one is The Towers of Deception by Barry Zwicker. He's a Canadian reporter. But anyway, this is a good book to buy if you haven't bought one to start with very much yet, because not only do you get the book, but in the back there's a DVD, which is The Great Conspiracy That Never Was on TV, or however they put it. The Great Conspiracy, the 9/11 news special you never saw. And with that, we'll go to the first caller of the day. Welcome to 9/11 Was an Inside Job. Squeal! I hear my own voice nice and loud.
Hi, Bill.
Hello.
Yeah, I just want to say that, I've been talking to a lot of people. I went down to the courthouse. I spent 3 days down there. There's more trials and more charges. I was there 20 years ago, and I've got a thing I'm going to trial myself on Monday over something am totally innocent of. And even if I wasn't innocent of it, I'm still innocent because nobody was hurt. Didn't cost nobody nothing. I had somebody in my car. They had some. Wasn't mine. But the system wants to make money off of us. All you got to do, really, is just follow the money. And once we do that, you'll find the rat. And
well, that's a good point, especially about 9/11. Wow, my voice is booming out here.
you know, I was in court and I was watching a jury selection, and I know how they do it now because I witnessed it.
Anybody that might be favorable to your point of view is ejected by the other side.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
by the time they get done, they have a hodgepodge of jurors that are too wishy-washy to stand up for jury rights, and they maybe aren't even interested in finding out what their rights as a juror might be.
That's right. The judge.
But hey, that's a whole different show. We want to talk about 9/11.
Bill, let me read this to you. I got this from a court, one of the court appointees, and I asked him if I could have a copy. Do you want me to read you the jurors for the people out there, or yourself, anybody? I didn't know this. First of all,
make it short.
I'll make it real quick.
Like I said, this is supposed to be about 9/11, and that's kind of real peripheral.
You know, it all plays in.
Yeah, go on.
It all plays in. Okay, first they ask you your name, and then they ask you what general neighborhood you live in, so to see if you're poor or rich or whatever. Occupation, they ask you that. Number 4 is the occupation of spouse, blah, blah, blah. Number 5 is, have you ever been a victim of a crime? They ask you that straight in front of the defendant and everything, because I've witnessed it.
Yeah, because you might be getting ready to take out your victimness on whoever else you can.
Yeah, and it also said number 6 is, do you have friends or relatives in law enforcement? Number 7 is, have you ever been in court proceedings as a witness or a party to a lawsuit? If so, please briefly explain. Number 8, have you ever served in a jury before? If so, type what case or cases, civil or criminal or both. Number 9, what do you like to do in your spare time? Well, why would they ask you that? To be a juror. Okay, number 10. This gets me is this last one. Do you agree that do you agree to judge this case only on evidence presented in court and not to any independent you cannot do any independent research of any kind, it says. That's number 10.
Yeah, you may not be able to do the research, but as a juror, you have the right to demand the information.
But I tried to tell my own lawyer that under the Constitution, original Constitution, that...
well, we're only bound by this one.
Well, the original Constitution says you do not have to testify against yourself.
Well, our Constitution says that too. And you're not testifying against yourself because you're not in any legal proceedings. They're just trying to select a jurist, so that doesn't really apply.
No
hey, look, thanks for your call, but we were trying to get on this 9/11 story, so.
Well, it all fits in. I mean,
thanks.
It's all.
And if there are any more callers, try to keep it on subject. We want to talk about 9/11 here, and it's all very interesting about juries and things and whatnot. But like, I want to get on. Like, here are 2 books that will help explain. Go ahead and switch over. Yeah, there you go. Both of these are by Zbigniew Brzezinski, The Choice, and of course the Grand Chessboard. And these describe exactly what they're doing right now in the Middle East. The choice here says global domination or global leadership. What is global leadership? That means having a military base in everybody else's country and on them. So, do we have another call? Okay, go ahead, caller. And
hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. First of all, Jesse Ventura needs to be the president of the United States. I believe he can clean up a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Hey, before you go on, I want to say one quick thing about Jesse. He's got his conspiracy show coming up December 2nd. That's just a couple of 2 weeks away or something like that. It'll be on Channel 51 on Comcast. It's the True Network, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And anyway, so they've got 7 episodes in the can, already done, 9/11 is one of the episodes. It won't be the first one, I understand, but I think it's the second one. But I recommend that people set their, video disc recorder things and whatever. Look up the TV guide for your Jesse Ventura conspiracy television show starting December 2nd. Okay, so anyway, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's okay. And that's good information because being up there on Channel 51, those Comcast subscribers who only get the limited basic, that only goes up to Channel 31, are going to be lost.
I'm one of those guys, but a friend of mine has the full thing, and I'm going to record it.
Well, and I run...
I definitely will be showing parts of his show on this show, probably.
Cool. Yeah, I run both. I run the digital starter on one route, and then I got another one for just the limited basic, and that way I can compare the signal quality. And
so what do you call for?
Oh, well, okay, yeah, Jesse Ventura needs to be president. Number 2, I'm going to take you up on your semi-wager there that the trial will not happen. I believe.
I'll bet you your choice is soda pop, 1 can.
Yeah, my personal opinion on this matter is that the trial may begin. However, somewhere along the line, something is going to happen to cause a mistrial, whether it's the prosecution's mistake or maybe the jury will be infiltrated.
Well, what's that going to do, to start a new trial?
Well, somehow this thing will go completely into the mud and turn into a fiasco.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, that it would, but there won't be any evidence because they don't dare let evidence into the trial, because once they look at evidence, the whole thing is blown.
Oh, heck yeah, you're absolutely right. If defense demands the entire all the evidence, there will be at some point somebody saying, "Oh no, this is a state secret. You can't have this. You can't have that." But anyway, that's my opinion. That the trial may begin,
right on,
but it will wind up in the mud, upside down. So anyway, thanks, Bill.
Okay, thanks for calling. Call back again. And we're moving on here to some Scott Ritter. Remember, I keep talking about Scott Ritter. Here's target Iraq and target Iran. And Scott Ritter was the weapons inspector, the chief weapons inspector during the 1998, or I guess that was his last time, but I'm not sure. Anyway, he's the one who called BS on the president's weapons of mass destruction in Iraq story, and also opened up the duplicity and treachery of our government, trying to plot and carry out covert activity to invade Iran. We already had our operatives in Iran. In fact, we probably do at this very moment. We have another caller. Go ahead, caller. Hello? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, when you find out the truth about 9/11, are you going to come out of the closet?
The 9/11 closet? Or is that one of those discriminatory, anti-homosexual remarks made from ignorance, etc.? Anyway, next caller, go ahead.
Okay, I have a comment.
Yeah.
How come I see all this 9/11 propaganda on your desk, but I don't see Mike Kampf on there?
Have you read any of this stuff? What's really gets me is all these people who come in to criticize, and they stand and stomp their foot determinedly saying 9/11 really was an invasion by Arabs who hated us, and somehow they just got through all our defenses and all that stuff. But you know what? Those very people haven't read not even one of these things. They aren't acquainted with any of the facts, and yet you're so willing to call up and say stupid things like that. Please hang up on him now. Okay. That was a stupid call, mister. That was just plain stupid. Okay. 9/11 propaganda. How about 9/11 research? You ought to try doing some of that yourself. And go ahead, caller. We'll try it again with a different caller. Hello, caller. Go ahead.
Hi. I was calling to find out if you guys have heard anything about the Pentagon videos not being released. There's a lot of speculation that wasn't a plane, but actually a missile, and that it had been kept in the dark for a long time. I was wondering if you could explain whether or not any more of that video had been released. And
sure. Basically, that's a subject that I really did want to talk about, because the government isn't stupid. And releasing the 5 frames of video, claiming that that was a comprehensive story of what happened, is nonsense. That would be something a stupid person might say. The government isn't stupid. They might be sneaky, they might be dishonest, they might be corrupt, but they're not stupid, generally. I mean, I guess that's, well, people can argue about that. But my point is, I personally believe that with the evidence that I've seen, the lack of parts around the Pentagon, the small size of the hole, the fact that there were 6 18-inch heavily reinforced concrete walls that were all penetrated, and still no wreckage of the plane to be seen, that tells me that there probably wasn't a plane, it was more likely a missile. That is supported by evidence put forth by pilots for 9/11 Truth, who've analyzed the flight data recorder information supplied by the National Transportation Safety Board, and it turns out that, according to that data, the plane flew 200 feet over the top of the Pentagon and wasn't anywhere near the light poles that were knocked down and so on. So the flight data information shows that whatever flew there didn't hit the Pentagon either. Now here's the rub. Suppose, just for a moment, that a plane really did hit the Pentagon. Now, it's not important whether it was a plane or a missile. That's just it doesn't really matter, because nothing should hit the Pentagon. You understand? That's the most heavily defended building in the world. There's no reason anybody should ever be able to penetrate its defenses, especially in a slow-flying, lumbering, the passenger airplane's coming into the Pentagon, we can't stop it. Right. The fact of the matter is, it should not have penetrated. That's what's wrong with the story. Now, here's where I think the government could be being really sneaky. We're coming up to this trial. Suppose that they start trying to put evidence into the trial that suggests that there might have been some other events that occurred besides the official story. Now the government has to make a special move that's going to negate all that negativity, or, counter it. How do they do that? Suppose a plane, just for the sake of argument, suppose that a plane really did hit the Pentagon, and suppose that they deliberately released falsified National Transportation Safety Board information on the flight data recorder so that it would be decoded to start the rumor, or to bolster the rumor about no planes hitting. Now, during the raised fury over this trial, they come out with the actual video, maybe 2 or 3 different angles, showing the plane just smashing into the Pentagon like they said. And then they start trumpeting, hey, everything else we said is true too. You guys are just nutcases. So you can see how we're in a tight spot there, and we have to be really careful. Don't put your eggs in the basket about it, whether it's a plane or not a plane.
Oh, well, I'm not...
I know. Okay.
I mean, I agree with what you said in that.
I forgot you're still there. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It is. I agree with you in that it's a vitally important military building that should have been better defended than something like that. And so, I mean, here you have people saying, that, our national defense is so important. Well, if that's so true, then why aren't we doing a better job at
and how come nobody's been punished or demoted or even reprimanded about, some lack of whatever they did that allowed this to happen? Some oversight or some procedure that was wrong or violated or not followed. Nothing has been shown to be anybody's fault.
Well, it's best for them to come out with all that information so we can do the best analysis on what actually happened in order to prevent it.
How about the idea that if the building actually fell, and I say it did not fall from anything except explosives. I mean, that's a fact. The explosives brought the buildings down. That's not anybody's conjecture anymore. That's been absolutely for sure proven. And so you have to look at it and say, these guys are lying, and I lost track of what I was saying.
Hey, I'm going to leave you with a quick one. I have a old friend of mine who got out of the military. He was an officer, and he told me that he never believes anything until the government denies it.
That's a good one. But, yeah, I guess the thing that I may be giving the government, too much credit in the sneak department, for if they suddenly come out with some nice clear video of an airplane hitting the Pentagon, they get to start, knocking down all the people that said the, Pentagon wasn't hit by a plane. So that's why I'm stressing at this point. I've come out in the past and said that I believe that it wasn't hit by a plane, and I still think that's probably the most likely explanation of the truth, that it was something else besides a plane. And it turns out that doesn't matter whether it was a plane or a missile. That's the important thing is, dude, it got through your defenses. Don't tell me whether it's a plane or not. I don't care what it was. You start explaining why it got through your defenses, and then I'll listen to you.
Yeah, the important thing is that the truth comes out.
Right.
That's the most important thing. So keep beating that drum, and thanks for your show.
Right on. And then I want to say the next caller is on the line, and welcome to 9/11 was an inside job.
Oh, am I on?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Hey, regarding not the last caller, but the two prior to him, Bugs Bunny would say, one of maroon, either that or else they are CIA operatives trying to foul up your show.
Well, I think CIA operatives would be smarter than that.
Yeah. Well, who knows? They might send a couple of their stooges in to call, say, hey, buddy, call this guy and give him some, give him some guff.
Well, they can, but all it does is give me a kind of a segue to what I want to say, like the call about the Pentagon.
Hey, regarding building number 7, something that's bothered me
is
I learned about it on your show, and was building number 7. You said that not only the BBC but also Amy Goodman from Democracy Now!, which is part of Free Speech TV, supposedly.
Well,
they all announced the building was coming down.
No. She didn't report it. What I said was she was there and heard the countdown. McPadden, the guy that kind of was the whistleblower about the subject, hearing the countdown, he mentioned specifically that Amy Goodman was there and running at the same time as everybody else from, the warning about the countdown. And there's video of her running. That's the only way she's involved, and I've written to her many times without response about, come clean and talk about 9/11, but she won't.
Well, she's going to be in town here.
I know. I've seen what she does to dodge the story, and it'll just be treated like somebody harassing her. And what it comes down to at this point, we'll see how they handle what comes of this trial. And I'm hoping that there's going to be, some sort of break, especially with Jesse Ventura putting his stuff on the TV.
Yeah.
And, of course, Charlie Sheen already.
Yeah. Well, one of Amy Goodman's has got to be in on the deal somehow or another then. If she won't answer, if she won't fess up and be honest with us.
I think it has to do with funding of Democracy Now! It's a lot easier to talk about everything else, but don't talk about the things that hurt the people funding it. That's a guess.
Well, yeah,
that's a guess,
that's
everybody.
The case, how can
it's a pure guess without being educated.
How can we trust anything that she says from now on? Because up until that point, I always believed a lot of what Democracy Now! Was saying.
Right.
On various stories.
The way you do that is like everything else. None of this stuff I take on face value, but you research other sources, and they have to agree. If they don't agree, then somebody is off, and you got to find out if they're off because of a mistake, lack of knowledge, or deliberate concoction. And that's what you apply to every single thing you have to look at. And most of the stuff Amy Goodman talks about is right on. And we got, especially with, like I showed last time, Blackwater. I think it's in this stack over here on the bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, it's off camera. But Blackwater, written by Jeremy Scahill, he's a very good reporter, and everything he's said on Democracy Now! Has been right on, verified by anything I've seen.
Yeah. Well, okay then. And now regarding Building 7, you mentioned some guy in the countdown and all this stuff. I don't know all the details
that
on
was
that.
McPadden.
Can you give me a quick primer on that?
Well, that was McPadden. You can Google McPadden, MCPADDEN, or go to Alex Jones and see it on his.
I don't have a computer, but I mean,
okay.
who's McFadden?
Well,
McFadden?
he's a first responder that happened to be down there, and he reported that there was a fire safety official listening on an official fire radio, or I think that I might have gotten who it was off, but he had an official radio in his hand, and he had his hand clasped over it, and he said you couldn't hear you kind of heard like 10, 9, 8, you know, that type of thing, and then he says it got down to 3, he took his hand off, and you heard 3, 2, 1, and he says run, you know, get out of here, and everybody ran, and that's what he reported. Hearing a countdown over the air is, you know.
Well, I was watching the news off and on that day, getting different parts of it whenever I wasn't working, and I do remember hearing the New York City Fire Commissioner say, "It looks," and I think this is almost a quote, "it looks like we're going to have to pull building number 7."
Oh, right on. Yeah, and those are things that never get shown again. And you know that they had Giuliani reported being told ahead of time that it was coming down. Of course, Silverstein has got that wonderful shot of him saying, yeah, we talked to the fire commissioner, and I agreed because of all the loss of life and everything. Well, we just agreed we should pull it, and then we watched it come down, or something like that. It was a pretty close quote.
Yeah. Well, there's been 2 other high-rise fires that I know about that I've seen videos of. One was down in Brazil, and the other one was down in L.A.
And they burned hotter and longer, and they don't fall.
One would burn for 36 hours or more, and the other one burned for at least 48 hours. And I saw the video of the one of the First Interstate Bank building down there in L.A. From a helicopter telephoto lens, and it looked like a kiln inside there. I mean, it was just glowing red hot on 2 floors. You know, you could have fired any pottery in there that you wanted, and so it's just a total joke. Plus the building that had the towers on it, or the radio towers on top of it, you notice that the top of that started to kind of tilt. And see, that's why if those buildings were to come down, which I didn't expect them to come down, at least in the fashion they did, I expected the top part, the part that was burned, to tilt over and fall down on the street.
Right,
you know?
It should have. That's the physics thing, and you know, basically, that's the next part of my little talk today about the physics of 9/11. Not that we're beating a dead horse on that one. This almost the same reason as, you know, the difference between a plane or no plane in the Pentagon. That's not the issue. The issue is that it happened. The same thing about the physics, and I'll get into that here in a minute. But thanks for calling.
Yeah, well, the people that put out all the misinformation must think the American, and I think they're probably right, most of the American sheeple are so stupid and are so gullible, and they're going to be so involved in their whether their kids' soccer lesson is today or tomorrow or whenever, and they're so involved in their own family affairs they can't even look outside their own door to see what the hell's going on, and they're going to be awfully surprised one of these days when it comes back to kick them right in the break us. So
well, we're all
anyway, Bub. Well, hey, I'll let you get going, and I'm not going to go down to the Amy Goodman thing, but I'd like to see somebody that goes to that's listening tonight, go down there and
ask her what she knows about 9/11, about the Building 7 falling.
Building number 7, and you know, are you in on the deal? You know, give us the truth. You know,
how come Democracy Now! Won't cover it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay, well, thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks. And there'll probably be a few CIA operatives in that audience too, I bet you.
Probably.
Anyway,
I wish them well. They're all in the same boat, and they think that they're going to be on the side that gets to survive, and little do they know.
Yeah. They'll be pawns in the game too.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, hey, Bill, good luck. Take care, and keep up the good work. Thanks. Bye.
Right on. Now, we have another call. I guess they've been waiting long enough. Let's try to go to the call real quick, and then I'll try to hit some of the highlights on the physics. Is that another caller?
Yeah, hi, Bill.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, you remember Janet Reno?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the FBI, Waco, Texas.
Right.
I think that those people were trying to be sovereign. And the government doesn't want this because we will become independent.
Which people? You mean the people at Waco?
Yes.
Yeah, it's an old-fashioned church burning. Good old American tradition. In the greatest of American traditions, a good old-fashioned church burning.
Yeah. I mean,
hey, but,
you know, they came in there with tanks, and
Right
no,
on.
they kicked the ATF's ass, and I was like applauding, because the ATF is a gang.
I agree.
It's just like the police.
Hey, we can do a whole show on Waco, and
I'm
I'm right with you on that. But we've got another caller that I got to go to.
Okay.
But thanks. Sorry to eject you so quick, but next caller. Okay, well, I guess what I want to say here, I said last week that I was going to go through the math, and
Hello?
Okay, hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question about who really did 9/11.
So do I.
Yeah. My theory in my high school, Centennial High School, are you familiar with that school?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. We believe that it was all the gays and the Jews that did it, okay?
Next caller. Oh, well, it's funny. You go to school and you don't learn any more than that. Critical thinking doesn't seem to be one of the subjects they teach anymore. Okay, well, we'll probably just have to call it a day on the calls. Well, we'll just see what happens. Let me get through this a little bit here. What I started doing was some of the calculations on the collapse rates, because everybody's talking about, free fall or close to free fall being significant. I mean, I say that's significant, but people are doing the math and coming up with calculations that show that it was a little bit slower than free fall, or if it was an actual collapse that, where it broke away what was below it using the weight of what was falling, that there would be, moments of hesitation for each thing that got bumped sideways to clear the way. And you don't see that in the graph. That's the important thing there. It's not what, how close the actual time was to what it should have been. The fact of the matter, it's just like this. And I was reading about this, and somebody had a great analogy. You hear a story about a magician who on stage cuts a lady in half and then in less than 5 minutes puts her back together again and restores her life. And everybody starts saying, well, wait a minute, 5 minutes, that's too fast. It should have been 10 minutes. No, you can't cut somebody in half and restore their life. 10 minutes or an hour or a year or a century. The same thing here. These buildings should not have fallen. The physics shows that it should have collapsed partway and stopped at the most. In fact, the top part of the building that above if you look at the explosions that are going on behind me, the top of the building that exploded is all that should have happened. That's it. There was no reason for anything below that to fall. So people who do these calculations are begging the point. It should not have collapsed. The fact that it collapsed is proof of controlled demolition. That's the thing that people have to understand. The fact that all 3 buildings collapsed at all is proof of controlled demolition. Wake up. We can do the math and show you that it's completely anomalous. But the point is, it doesn't matter what speed it could have fallen at or should have fallen at under certain circumstances. The point is, under these circumstances, it should not have collapsed. Get that through your heads. 9/11 was an inside job done with explosives. We have the evidence of explosives, and now all the people that are still denying it stand out like sore thumbs. Well, anyway, that's kind of what I had to say. You can go to Richard Gage's website, the AE911truth.org, and they have papers on the left side of the, well, your left over here, on the left side of the screen. When you go to AE911truth.org, you'll see technical articles. And down in the technical articles section, there are calculations about, how fast it should fall if you consider inelastic collisions. In other words, the floors stick together and the mass increases. Conservation of momentum means if you have a mass, let's say one floor moving at a certain speed, and it hits a second floor, now it's twice the mass. 2 floors moving, that means they're going to move at half the speed they were. We saw on the pictures that it accelerates. It doesn't slow down. So that's what's wrong. It violates conservation of momentum. It violates the rules of physics to believe the official story, violates all of the science. So I guess we're getting close to the end now. We got about 3 minutes left. If anybody's still out there that wants to call in, I guess we have a chance. 503-288-4442 or 288-4448. In the meantime, our next show is December 5th. It's the next live show. We'll probably be showing some reruns over Thanksgiving. Look for one of my reruns on Thanksgiving, probably this one. And let's see. Oh, I guess one of the things that I wanted to say about the naysayers talking about the 9/11 trial that's coming up and how it should have been a military tribunal. The fact of the matter is that we violated every norm that's been established both by treaty and international law and our own laws. At least 6 of our own laws are against torture, not just, some treaty that we signed. So the people that say, well, we shouldn't be listening to treaties are the law of the land according to the Constitution, which, some of these people that don't like treaties at the same time claim to uphold the Constitution, but apparently they haven't read it. But anyway, without a treaty, we still have at least 6 different laws against the type of torture that we were performing. And to have the Republicans in mass come out and talk about how we're endangered and how all this stuff, they're either liars or they're incredibly stupid. There is no in-between ground. And, everything you've ever been taught about your country, we're supposed to give people their day in court, not after you torture them for 5 or 6 years. Their day in court on a sensitive, timely manner. And they're supposed to be able to confront their witnesses. And we never saw any of that with any of the things that are going on. The military tribunals start out assuming guilt. And that's what these guys are doing. What did Obama say? We'll give him a trial, or I don't know if it was Obama, but it was somebody in his administration, probably the Attorney General, saying we'll give him a trial, we'll convict him, and then we'll hang him. Well, now wait a minute. If you actually give the guy a trial, you might have to release him. And, if he gets released, that's justice. That's not justice evaded. That would be justice. Nobody in Afghanistan, none of these guys that are about to be tried, are capable of putting explosives in all 3 Trade Center buildings under the eyes of all those, Secret Service organizations. So, bottom line, well, do we really stand for the letter of law? Or do we want to be just like these terrorists that we're so afraid of? Be very afraid, and since you're afraid, we're going to start acting just like the terrorists. We're going to blow up innocent people in all kinds of countries. We're going to invade a country with no reason and do a shock and awe, completely destroying every bit of the country's history and infrastructure and art. And we're going to say that we're restoring democracy. And then we're going to, out of the other side of our mouths, we're going to talk about being afraid of terrorism. I'm sick of the lies. Watch us next December 5th.